My name is Karlyn Borysenko, and you are listening to the Actively Unwoke podcast. If you want actionable strategies that you can use to fight back against this woke cultural revolution that we are all experiencing right now in our daily lives, head over to activelyunwoke.com and pick up a copy of my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. It's available in hardcover, on Kindle, and even on Audible, read by me, the author. All right. I want to talk today about a concept that this is probably one of the most important points that people need to understand about critical race theory or the woke left or any of these things. And that is what the term whiteness means. Because this has gotten very, very distorted by the conservative media. And those who genuinely see what the woke left are doing, they genuinely see it as a problem. They know it's not good, but they still have not wrapped their head fully around what the term whiteness means. And when you hear them say whiteness, white people, you can use those terms pretty interchangeably so far as we're concerned here. What they think it means is the color of someone's skin. Now, I can understand that. It can be this is a confusing thing, right? Because what the woke left do is they use language as their greatest weapon against us. They want you confused about what they mean. They want you to appear racist. I'm going to say that again. They want you to appear racist, legitimately racist. That is why it is in the woke left's best interest that you believe the term whiteness has to do with someone's skin color. We have to distinguish between a common sense, average person understanding of a term and how the woke left are defining that term. And when I say woke left, I mean the progressive left, I mean the socialist left. Those are not the same thing. By the way, the socialists are way worse than the progressives. That's a different podcast for a different day. But what I am arguing is that the definition that exists in common parlance around the word whiteness, white people, is not how they're defining it. They want you to believe that it is about someone's skin color when it is not. And I'm going to explain what it is in a second. But before we get into that, the main people that I blame for this misunderstanding are conservative media, conservative journalists, and conservative influencers who have continued to parrot the talking points that the woke left are handing them on a silver platter. And they're confusing their own audiences with it. You know, I was emailing back and forth with someone just yesterday, and we were talking about how these things are taught in school districts. And my contention is that if you are teaching about power and privilege, if you are asking someone to analyze their inherent privilege, then you are also teaching that there are people who are inherently oppressed, because you cannot have privilege without there being oppression. Now, his contention, and again, I completely understand why he thinks this because this is a nuanced concept. His contention was, well, Karlyn, you can have people that are wealthy and people that are privileged, but that are not oppressors. You can have wealth without oppression, so it doesn't make sense that you can't have privilege without oppression because you can have wealth without oppression. No, 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 no. No, you can't. No, you can't. Not in the woke left's definition of what these things are. The problem and the disconnect is that the person I was talking to was thinking about whiteness as the color of someone's skin. He's not thinking about whiteness in the way that the term is actually used by the people pushing this language on all of us. So, if it's not about skin color, then what is it about? Whiteness does not refer to the color of your skin. It refers to who owns the power structure. Who owns the power structure? I'm going to say this in a bunch of different ways. The people who are bosses, the people who own property, the people who build organizations and have themselves as CEOs, the people with the money, the people who are in charge, the people who own buildings or are landlords. Those are the people who own the power structure. In the minds of the woke left, all of these people are white. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the color of their skin. It has to do with the fact that they own the power structure. They are on the top of the heap. And that is why we see things like Latino landlords being accused of being white supremacists. Why would someone who's not white be accused of being a white supremacist? Well, if they are a landlord, then in the eyes of the woke left, they are engaging in whiteness because they own private property and they are a landlord for other people. That makes them quote unquote white. Why might Larry Elder in California be considered a white supremacist? He's very black. But yet the LA Times ran an article on him calling him the new face of white supremacy. Why might that be? Because it has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It has to do with him wanting to be in power and him not having the right political opinions, if we're honest about it. Because all of this stuff, all of it, it comes from legitimate socialism and communism and Marxist ideology. That is where all of this comes from. And so in that ideology, the greatest villain in the world is not white people, it's capitalism. It's capitalism. And so anyone that they see engaging in capitalism, and again, that could be building a business, being a boss, purchasing property, being a landlord, having money, believing in individualism. All of those things are components of capitalism. And in the eyes of the woke left, all of those things will make you white, regardless of your skin color. Your skin color makes no difference to the argument that they're making. And so, when we're talking about having very wealthy people, from the example earlier, when we're talking about having very wealthy people, of course those people are engaging in whiteness. Because how did they build all that wealth if they weren't engaging in whiteness? I'm not articulating my philosophy here. I'm explaining the philosophy that the woke left has. Every single time that we pretend that this is about skin color, we give them a win. The left wants you to believe that this is about skin color when it is not. Because when you believe it is about skin color, you start saying things that, I'm sorry, folks, sound really flippin' racist. And when you say things that sound racist to a normal person, to an average person, I'm not talking about woke left. When you say something that sounds racist to an average person, like using the term anti-white or complaining that white people are victims of all of this, you sound really racist, and they're going to use that against you. Now, you might say, no, Karlyn, they're the racists. Well, that's true. They are more racist. However, they're trying to trick you, and a lot of you are taking the bait. A lot of you are taking the bait over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you're giving them things to use against you. They want you to believe that this is about skin color because as long as you believe that this is about skin color, you are distracted from what the real issue is. The greatest enemy of critical race theory is not white people, it is capitalism. That's what they're going after. Critical race theory is not about race. It is only and explicitly about power. And they are the ones who want power. What they're going to tell you is they want to create a utopian society in which everyone is on equal footing. It is total equality across the board. Everyone is equal. We are all the same. But that's not how this stuff works out, and we all know that. We all know that there are useful idiots on the woke left that would be the first against the wall if their side won. We all know that there will ultimately be people who are at the top of the heap, probably the academics. It was the liberal white academics that created all this in the first place. Do you really think that liberal white academics are going to create something that takes them out of liberal white academia? That takes them out of the ivory tower and puts them down with the proletariat? Of course they're not. If you believe that whiteness is about skin color, you need to start to reorient your perception. Because this is one of the things that is absolutely critical to understand when it comes to the woke left. Because if you do not understand that whiteness is not about skin color, it is about who owns the power structure. If you don't understand that basic fact, you are going to misinterpret absolutely every single thing that these people say. If you do not understand that whiteness is only about power, then you do not understand the woke left. And we need to understand them in order to defeat them. Understanding them is not the same thing as agreeing with them. This is why I spend so much time watching this content on my main channel on YouTube, youtube.com/Dr. Karlyn Borysenko, on my second channel on YouTube, youtube.com/activelyunwoke. I watch all this stuff publicly from start to finish, full form trainings, an hour long, an hour and a half long, 2 hours long. Last Saturday, I watched 6 straight hours worth of socialism, pure socialism on my channel. And I get a lot of comments from people saying, oh, I just don't know how you watch this stuff. I can't last 5 minutes. I can't last 10 minutes. And I go, I watch this stuff because it is absolutely critical that we understand them. And when you tap out, when you say, I just can't watch 5 minutes of this, you are saying that I don't care about understanding them, which means you don't care about beating them. You cannot beat these people if you do not understand them. The media have done a disservice. Conservative media, conservative influencers, conservative blue checks, they have done their audience a massive, massive, massive disservice by allowing them to think that whiteness is about skin color and not about who owns the power structure. Marxists do not really care about skin color. They really don't, ultimately. All they care about is power. That's it. That is what they care about. Every single thing that they do is to gain as much power as possible, to destabilize the system, to attack capitalism, to usher in their little Marxist utopia. Every single thing that they do is about those 4 elements. Not necessarily in that order, but usually pretty much in that order. Gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. That is what it is about. It is not about skin color. White people are not evil in their eyes. White people are actually the most powerful people in society in their eyes. They're engaging in whiteness. They own property. They're building businesses. But they don't like it when black people do that either. They don't like it when Latino people do that either. They really hate it when Asians do it. They consider all those groups to be white when they are engaging in capitalism. You have to understand this. You have to wrap your head around this. And I understand why people are confused. I really do. Like I said, if you're confused and you feel like I'm yelling at you right now, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It is not your fault that no one explained this to you. It is not your fault. It is the media's fault. It is the influencers' fault for not understanding this themselves and not explaining it accurately. I am pissed at the influencer community who do not care enough about winning to explain to their audience accurately what is going on. The only reason I know this is because I have taken it upon myself to watch thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of these people's content. And you see the same themes coming up over and over and over and over again. And then once the media starts covering these things, they completely pervert what happens because they just want outrage points. They want to anger you. They know that every time Fox News and Tucker Carlson are very deeply aware that every single time they air a story about a poor victimized white man, that they're going to get ratings and they're going to get shares and they're going to get clicks and they're going to get those outrage points. They know exactly what they're doing. They are using the misunderstanding in order to make money because they are not interested in solving the problem. Fighting back against critical race theory and the woke left, this is very big business on the right. It's big business. They make a lot of money on it. Are you interested in getting rid of something that you make a lot of money on? That's why they're not interested in telling you the truth. They're not interested in solving the problem. Not really. They're making too much money on it. But I am telling you the truth. I will always tell you the truth. Because I legitimately want to solve this problem. Nothing would make me happier than for this problem to go away and for me to never have to talk about it again. I just don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime because so many people are being misinformed by the media. Whiteness is not about the color of your skin. Whiteness is about who owns the power structure. Once you start understanding that, everything that the woke left says and does is going to start making so much more sense to you. It's going to make so much more sense. You're not the enemy if you're white. You are the enemy if you own property, or you own a business, or you like capitalism and want to engage in capitalism. Because ultimately, the woke left want to get rid of all these things. Everything they do is about attacking capitalism. Because as long as capitalism exists, then the state is not God. As long as capitalism exists, then people can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Yes, I just used that term. As long as capitalism exists, then people can start businesses and be entrepreneurial and not be reliant on someone else for money. The woke left want to get rid of all of that. They want to make you completely dependent and loyal to the state. That is what they want. They view capitalism as the great evil in the world. They view capitalism as the one thing that they need to abolish. In that socialism conference I was watching over the weekend, their keynote speaker literally said that the revolution will be complete when capitalism is abolished. That's what they mean when they say whiteness. It's not about skin color. It's about money, and it's about power. Every single person who has money and who has power is going to be considered complicit in whiteness. The language is their greatest weapon. They are manipulating the language. They are using words that you think mean one thing, but that actually mean a completely different thing in the way that they are using it. And they're in communities where everyone understands this. They are beating us because they are very literally speaking a different language. And we're not picking up on that. And we're using the same definition that we've always used because that makes sense. But no one is explaining to people that they are speaking a completely different language. They are weaponizing definitions of words. When, by the way, when definitions of words become inconvenient for them, they just change them. Or they change the word entirely. They never talk about critical race theory anymore. But you know what they do talk about? Culturally responsive learning, culturally responsive teaching. Those are basically the same thing. They just changed the term. They just changed it. They stopped talking about one thing and they started talking about another. That was how they fixed the critical race theory problem. They didn't stop teaching critical race theory. They just changed the name to something else. We have got to be on our toes when it comes to definitions. We've got to be on our toes with how they are using terms. And I know that so many of you don't want to spend the time watching this stuff, and I will be happy to explain to you what the real definitions are. But you need to stop pretending that they are using the same definition you are. You need to listen to what they're saying in order to really understand what they're trying to do, because they want you confused, they want you looking racist, and if you do not understand what they really mean, then you are not going to be effective in fighting back against them. That is the beginning and the end of the ball game, folks. If I sound like I'm being harsh on you, it's because I've been dealing with this for 2.5 years and people still don't listen. I want to win. I think you want to win. But in order to do that, we need to stop pretending that whiteness is about skin color, because it is not. It is about who owns the power structure, who owns the business, who owns the private property, who makes the money, who has the money and resources, and who doesn't have the money and resources. That is what it is about. It has nothing to do with skin color at all. It is only about power and capitalism. Start paying attention to what they're saying. And every time they say whiteness, replace the term whiteness with capitalism and watch how the meaning changes. And then you're really going to see. All right, guys, that's all I have for this one. Again, I have more information available at activelyunwoke.com. I actually have a whole chapter in the book where I'm decoding some of the language, though not all of the language. And the language changes all the time. So I wrote Actively Unwoke about 1.5 years ago. It didn't come out until several months ago because that's just the way book publishing works. But you always have to keep an eye on the changing definitions. I don't think many definitions in the book have changed. Certainly there's been updates, and that's something I will do my very best to keep you apprised of on this podcast. If you haven't yet left this podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, I would really appreciate it if you did. That would be awesome. If you have anything less than 5 stars, you can keep it to yourself. But that would be really great. Guys, until next time, you can find me at activelyunwoke.com. That's all I've got for right now. We'll see you soon.